Okay, this is Rhonda Sheya on KUHSdenver.com, and I'm coming to you live from our studios in North Glen, Colorado. It's beautiful here. It's a little bit overcast because of all the fires and things that are going on in the state, which really breaks our heart because it's about 200,000 acres are burning, and the ash can be seen as far as Denver, so it's a pretty rough day. I want to say hi to the international camera as we get started. Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. This is Rhonda Sheya. As I mentioned, you're listening to the WTF. And I have a guest today, and she's waving in the background, and her name is Dr. Elisa Robin. And Dr. Elisa is going to talk to us about, well, maybe this crazy year, and a little bit about maybe what's happening next year. She is an astrologist. She is also a channel. She's a medium that channels, and if someone shows up, she'll let us know. If not, you know, we won't be talking to those people. We'll find out how many dead people listen to me versus how many dead people vote. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay. Anyway, so Dr. Elisa, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
No, we are so excited. I think it's going to be an incredible, interesting to learn more about you. And so what I'd like to do is, before we start out, I'd like you to tell everybody when your show is on KUHS Denver. You have two, I think, so tell everyone when they are and a little bit about them. And then we're going to I'll go back and we'll ask you some questions about yourself, and then we'll get started with some really interesting things.
Here, so the first show is the Dr. Elisa Show. It is on every other Thursday at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And I do some astrology, and I sometimes have amazing guests. Next week, I actually have Rebecca Rosen on, who's an internationally known channel. She's read for Oprah and for Dr. Oz. She's amazing. So that's my one show. And then the third Monday of every month, I have the Crystal Ball Hour. And I show up with my crystal balls, which I actually have, 4 of, and I do live readings. And people simply post questions in the Facebook site. I do live readings.
Wow, that's pretty cool. You know, I always build these shows when I have somebody on that's a psychic. I call it the psychic and the psychotic. That's the, no, anyway, and you know.
That works out well. I like that.
Yeah, did that work out well? Yeah. So tell me a little bit about yourself. I know some things about you because we worked at different times, or ships crossing in the night at Regis University. Both of us did. And you have an interesting background in education. You have a PhD in educational psychology, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yes. My first career, I actually have a master's in geology, and I worked as a geologist for 6 years with a big oil company, which was not a good fit. And then I went back and got the PhD, so total change of careers, no prereqs, walked into a PhD program in EdSci, got the PhD, and I put myself through that PhD as a professional astrologer slash psychic slash whatever, channeler, and used those skills that I had developed over most of my life to pay for my PhD.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So tell
me.
And
then when I stepped out of that, when I graduated, it was hard to get a job. So I still did some of that until I landed my first job at it's a small art school here in Denver. And I was a dean, and then I was a dean at a community college, and then I was a dean at Regis University, where we almost crossed paths.
Yes, we almost did. I left just probably about a month or so before you came in. So, but what I was going to say is that that's really an interesting pathway. I mean, I think I like to call it a journey, because, you know, there's a Janice Stanfield, who's a great songwriter and singer that one of my very favorite, has a song called "I'm Not Lost, I'm Exploring," and and I love that.
It's perfect. I think because if you've ever sailed, to get where you're going, often if you're sailing into the wind, you have to tack, meaning you're never on course. You go sort of to the left, and then you go to the right, and then you go to the left, and you go back and forth because you're sailing into the wind. So you have to sail sideways to the wind. And eventually, you have one last tack. It's the only time you're on course is that last tack when you're sailing.
Wow. Well, let's start with, how did you know? I mean, to me, it seems to be something that's, well, let me back up. I believe that most people have some type of intuition or ability, like we're discussing. It's just that it's not something that we develop. So I believe that part of the brain doesn't develop those skills and those things, because we don't need them anymore as much as we used to. We probably do, but people don't, you know, as a survival mode and things like that, people don't think about it. And I think that we just don't use it. And so my question is, do you believe, we're going to talk about how you first discovered that you had this ability, and do you think everybody has it, or do you think it's, I mean, some have it more than others, but do you think it's something that most people have and they just don't use, or is it truly something that just a few people have?
Great question. I do believe that everybody has the ability, and I have met people who are pretty amazing psychics who said they taught themselves. They went to learn how to read the Akashic records, or they're an astrologer and they don't consider themselves psychic, but over time they've developed that part of themselves. But I will say that there are many people who are born, either it's through their lineage, they've inherited something, or for whatever reason, and they are more open in that area. Most of us learn to shut it down because it's often inappropriate unless your lineage, your family approves of it, it's accepted.
What?
So, but yes, and.
Okay. And I do think that it's something that in society, and especially in our society, in Western society, it's not viewed like it is in many other cultures. And I mean, you know, throughout history, there were always people that read the stars and the charts, and through the biblical times all the way up, you know, to today. And there was much more emphasis on that, and early man put much more emphasis on it than modern man does. And do you have any idea why? Or
so astrology used to be considered a science, which is fascinating, right?
Wow.
And it's just funny, I was telling you today, so I'm Jewish, and today I was actually studying some aspects of Torah, and they talk about astrology.
Yeah, they do. And they're, yeah.
And the right way to do it, use it, and the wrong way to use it. So I try to do kosher astrology, just so you know.
That's a good name, kosher astrology. So what are some of the things that the Torah tells you about astrology in terms of how to use it correctly and how not to use it?
Sure. It's used to talk about personality type. It's used to talk about energies or opportunities. The thought is that when you're born, your soul has a mission, and that you gave yourself clues to that mission before you were born. And some of those show up in your astrological chart. And so that's what I look for. What is your soul come here to do? Where you're not supposed to use it is in places that instead of using free will, you go to a psychic and they say, do this thing, where you're not using your own intuition, your own connection to spirit. So that's where you're not supposed to use it.
So if it gets in the way between your connection and God, so to speak, or
Yes.
your connection and whoever the higher power is that you believe in, then it becomes a hindrance, not a help.
Right.
And do you believe, because many people, particularly of the Christian faith, will believe that astrology is something that is evil, or that it opens the door for some bad spirits to come in, or things like that. So what do you say when someone brings that? I'm sure you've faced that, so I'm wondering what you say.
All the time. So I actually wrote an academic article on the appropriate use of astrology based on Torah. So anything can open up the door to evil if that's what you choose. Astrology, if you're using it to say, like you would use therapy, or you might use a Myers-Briggs, or you might use anything else that says, how do I become a better person? If that's your intention, how do I fulfill my soul's mission? How do I heal my cocoon, the healing I came here to do? Then the way you ask the question determines the way you get the answer and what you do with it.
That's interesting, and I like that you bring up Taku. That's maybe you could share a little bit about that.
Sure. So in the Jewish philosophy, we all have a tikkun, and a tikkun olam, is that we came here to pick up the pieces, the sparks that were scattered at Earth's creation, and that those sparks, when we gather enough of those together, we illuminate the entire world. And each of us comes with a tikkun we are supposed to do, a type of healing. So think of the sparks that we're supposed to gather, and our soul wants to do that. And any guidance we can get on how to do that better is a kosher way of using astrology.
I just love that. I'm not super familiar with it, but I've heard of that before, and I absolutely love that philosophy. It's very and love that piece of the Jewish religion. I think that we're all here to pick something up and share that light and that spark, and I think that's beautiful. And that's what Jesus did. If you're Christian, he came down, he picked up those pieces and he shared that light. So, you know, it's not something that's foreign to other religions as well. It's just not necessarily named, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So let's talk so let's go back again. You probably answered this, but I got so wrapped up in all of that. Make sure. So again, how old were you when you noticed you had this ability?
I don't remember a time when I didn't. So my parents moved into a new house. We moved, I think, when I was 5, and my bedroom was haunted. At least that's how I felt. Now, I could have had a spirit guide in there, but we all over time learned that it was haunted, and that there was energy in that room. My brother once went in there when he wasn't supposed to, and the mirror fell off the wall. A boyfriend, when I was older, went in when he wasn't supposed to, and he came out ashen white and said the sleeping bag rolled across the floor and hit him in the feet. There was a seance in there when I was in middle school, or probably elementary school, and at the point, and I wasn't even in the room, and all the girls said, give us a sign, and all the window shades went up. So I've always had some sort of spirit around me. I started reading tarot. Again, I don't even remember when I got my first tarot deck, but probably middle school. And my grandmother, who hated all of this and didn't believe in any of it, once said, oh yeah, back in, she was from Poland, I used to pull cards and we would pretend to tell each other's fortunes, and I was really good at it, but she hated it. She couldn't stand any of it.
What?
So I've kind of always known, and there were times that I knew I had to turn it off and not say what I was picking up.
Well, I would think that with it comes great responsibility. I mean, if you're going to be giving information that could change how people view something, or you know, or anything, you really have a great responsibility there. There's a comment I want to read. Sue Weaver, she is in Florida, said, I believe a lot of people are afraid of it, meaning afraid of of developing it. And it is a big responsibility. I mean, I can see where that's something that people, you know, would be afraid of. So let me ask you this. Let's get into the nuts and bolts of things, so to speak, or the stars and stars and planets. What in the heck? Okay, this show's called the WTF, right? And so what the WTF is going on? What happened to 2020?
So you have to know that astrologers have been looking at 2020 with a bit of concern for many years. Okay, let me say that we are in a birth process, and birth is always messy. Like, there's no getting around it. It's always messy, right? So astrologically, there have been 3 planets that have been, one of my astrology friends says, canoodling. So hanging out together in the sky, okay? They came together pretty strongly in December of last year, and then formed this, little group in probably February, March, and they've been hanging out together. So the planets, and I got to take you through this. The 2 planets that are really affecting us are Saturn and Pluto, and then Jupiter joined in. Okay, Saturn is the planet that says, let's keep everything the same. We like how things work. It's the planet of tradition. It's in Capricorn. Capricorns like tradition. They like building structures. It is hanging out with Pluto. Pluto is the planet of creative destruction. And they're next to each other. So here's the best metaphor I can give you. You inherit a house that's really ugly, but it has a great view. So there's a human tendency to say, let's remodel. So you can imagine you've inherited the house, you're Saturn, you're like, it's okay, I know it's ugly, but I think I can remodel, I think it's okay. And your best friend, Pluto, shows up, and you notice she's driving a wrecking ball. And you said, what are you doing? And she said, I'm doing you a big favor. The house is ugly. Let's take it down. And you start screaming, no, I think the bathroom's okay. She goes, are you kidding? Look at that olive green tile. It's terrible. And slowly she takes it to ground and says, see, now we can build what we want. that has been going on in the sky. So that's one piece. The other piece is that Jupiter is hanging out with them. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. So let's say it was your birthday and I said, oh my gosh, Jupiter's on your sun and your solar return. You're going to have an expansive year. Come back next year, tell me what happened. And you show up and I say, so what happened? And you say, I gained 30 pounds. I expanded, right? So what's happening? We're expanding this discussion between Saturn and Pluto. Keep it the same for just because. No, it's time to change. No, that and Saturn is expanding that. And everything you see are the messy, chaotic steps that happen when great change is coming. Before we give birth, it's messy.
It's like labor pains, so to speak. Yeah, like labor pains is what I said. I get what you're saying because it does feel that way. You know, my belief has always been that when we see things such as pandemics and wars and protests and people angry and all of the things that we're seeing all over the world, not just in the United States, and particularly the illness and the fires and the floods, and that the earth has said, I've had enough. I need to shake you people off. I need to get rid of some of you because you're screwing me up. And so I'm going to burn it down, and we're going to have new force come in, and I'm going to, I'm just going to shake it up here. There's too many people. They're not taking care of me. So guess what? I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to make you stay in your house for a couple of months, and I'm going to get rid of about 1 million of you. I mean, that's...
It's almost like being told, okay, time out.
Yeah.
You've been give a time out. But the planets don't have a nasty agenda. This isn't set up so that we fail. Again, it's like, here's the time. I like to look at this as I chose to be born in a certain time. I chose to live through this time. What is the best I can make of this time? What's the best I can do with it? And the planets are pushing us to do that because as we move into next year, Saturn and Jupiter move into Aquarius. We let go of the sign of structure, of tradition, of hanging on. We move into the sign of science, forward thinking, humanitarianism. Yes, stubbornness is mixed in there. Aquarians are not all good, right? Every sign has its strengths and weaknesses. But we're moving into the beginning of a true age of Aquarius. We're being asked to
The dawning
change.
of the age of Aquarius, one of my favorite songs.
Absolutely. And so that nobody knows exactly when that age starts, but we're pretty sure we're in the doorway. Like maybe we rang the doorbell in 1960, and now the door is open, and we're starting to walk through it.
It's gonna be very interesting, I think. And I do believe, whether you believe that you choose to be born here, or you believe that a higher power chose for you to be on Earth at this time, the fact is that we're here now, and it's up to us to fix it. We're all here to do something, and the reason that we're all here to do something is either a higher power wanted us here or we chose to be here because we have something to offer that will help us get through a very tumultuous time. And things will get worse before they get better, I think. I mean, that's my gut feeling. I don't know what you think, but...
I hate to predict, right? Mm-hmm. But what I do believe is these planets are so close together. At the same time, we have the planet Uranus and Taurus. It's not happy there. This is the planet of ultimate freedom and rebellion in the sign of ultimate stability, which is why we're seeing a lot of earthquakes. We're seeing a lot of things happen to the planet. That's sort of the weather that's happening there. Mm-hmm. But what I think is it's our choice. Right? Will things get worse? What do we want to choose? Will things get better? What do we want to choose? Will we have the opportunity to simply be angry?
But what do you think about 2021?
So let me add one more thing, because 2021 is a different doorway. So in 2022, so I gotta back up enough to make it make sense. Every planet is revolving around, right? We're orbiting around the sun. And at some point in our charts, we have what we call a return. Many people have heard of their Saturn return. It happens when you're 30. Our Mars return happens almost every 2.5 years. Terrible twos, right? Interesting fours. So we can see that these patterns, the planets return to where they were when we were born. and it has an effect on us. Pluto, which Pluto always wins, and it's one of my favorite planets for interesting reasons. Pluto always wins. Creative destruction always wins. Pluto takes 250 years, give or take, 244, 250, whatever, to go around the sun. Do you have any idea what's coming up on its almost 250th birthday?
Oh no, what?
The United States of America.
Oh.
We are about to have, in 2022, a Pluto return. Now, different astrologers give it a different date, but it's coming. So it might be the end of 2022, the beginning of 2023, the end. So, you know, people, because of how charts are run, the timing might be different. So when the United States was founded, Pluto was in Capricorn. Pluto was in Aquarius, excuse me. Pluto's moving into Aquarius.
Oh.
Again, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're having this return. Okay, we're having this huge return. And when that happens, right? When it's at the edge of Capricorn moving into Aquarius, we will be challenged again to say, have you done what you intended to do? And if you haven't, then let's restructure this. Mm-hmm. It has to be restructured. I love the fact that Benjamin Franklin used to say that every nation needed a revolution around every 250 years.
That's
and
true.
I had one who was an astrologer, because that's when Pluto does this return.
That's interesting. So here's a big important question. I've been wondering since I was a kid. Do men really go to Jupiter to get more stupider? No. I'm sorry, I just had to put it in there. Remember that little rhyme you'd say when you were a kid?
That's a profound question, and I'm not sure I have the answer.
Okay, anyway, I'm sorry. Hey, if you have any questions to ask Dr. Elisa, please feel free to do so. Sue Delaney's on there. It's Lady Oni. Hi there. Sue Abrams. Everybody's named Sue on my page. It must be a thing. So, is anybody? Do you feel anybody? Is anybody shown up to this? Do we have anybody that's from another world in the room, or?
You know, one of yours is showing up, and your guys showed up earlier today to let me know that that I'd be able to read this later, which is tricky through all of this technology. But I have to say that you actually have two. You have a very strong female presence, which is off to my right and in front of me, which can mean either like a lineage. It's usually a lineage like that. So it could be a grandmother, but it also could be a great aunt. Somebody who was very connected to you, who actually, oh, interesting, is telling me you thought she always disapproved of you somehow, but that is actually very proud of you, and that was trying to keep you safe. So sort of a message that comes through. I don't know if you can relate to that, but someone who you wondered about that relationship, so it wasn't a great bonding relationship at the time, perhaps, but they're coming through to say that, like in retrospect, I'm really very proud of you now. And there's a male, it's not a male, there's another energy with you that simply says it's a guardian energy and does not actually want to reveal itself, so I can't get the full reading of it. Oh, it's an animal. So that said, it's been with you more than once and has been with you to teach you, just to love you, actually to teach you nothing. That's just this energy of an animal that just loves you profoundly, but probably has come back. Like, you know, like some of us joke that when my dog died, I was like, no, I want that dog back, right? Yeah. That has been here twice to comfort you. Does that resonate with you? Yeah,
it does. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Okay.
That's cool. All right. I just had to ask. So now listen, Janice Barnett's on. Hi, Janice. She's in Chicago area. We've got people from all over here. Now, if you have any questions, she can try. You know, so feel free to ask. We'd love to have her. You know, Dr. Elisa would love to have. Some questions. So if you have some comments or questions or something you wanted to talk more about, like if there's certain planets or certain, you know, astrological things that you're involved in. I think, Janice, you're involved in astrology charts and things like that. What do you think of numerology? Is that kind of similar to what you do? Is that different?
It's different than what I do. I'm also trying to pull up, like, refresh the Facebook page so I can see questions, which is always a bit of a challenge. So numerology is fascinating. It's not something I've studied, and so it, though there's something called gematria, which is like the Jewish form of it. And what I can tell you is often when we see repeating numbers, like you suddenly look at your phone and it's 1111. And the next time you look at your phone, it's 1212. You know, like, what's going on? That often it's just spirit trying to get your attention.
Well, that's
That's
cool.
all what that is. And so I don't necessarily do interpretation of numbers, but when I do a reading, I can't quite refresh my Facebook, I was trying to do it, sorry. When I do a reading, if somebody says to me, I'm seeing these numbers, or I've had these dreams, I incorporate whatever that is to the best of my knowledge. I'm better with dreams, because I haven't specifically studied gematria or numerology. But all of those are just ways we get messages.
Wow, that's cool. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about this weird dream, since you like dreams. So actually it was very scary, and I know it had some meaning. Someone had passed away, and I was devastated. You know I was, I couldn't. You know how it is when that happens. And in the dream, I was in this deep dream sleep. I was searching for this person, and I ended up in this kind of foggy walkway with little candles or lights. They were like candles, but they were just lights, and there was hundreds of them. They were just everywhere. And I was walking by them, and it was kind of weird. And all of a sudden, my grandfather, who I was very close to, comes up and he says, "Turn around, go back. You can't be here. These people need energy, and you will never leave if you don't turn around now." And then I woke up and went, "Oh, Jesus God." So that was a dream.
So there are, this is going to sound funny, there are levels of transition that people go through, and some people, when we pass, depending on your beliefs, some people are not quite ready. They're hanging on, but they don't have the energy to do that. So they will often, and I honestly think this is the origin of the mythology of vampires, that they will try to, because they can be alive in doing this, clearly, we've met emotional vampires, but they can be trying to stay as alive as they can because they're afraid to pass. And there are many stories about having to either, get in the boat and be rowed across the river, or go through the place of healing before you get to heaven. Tons of stories about the passage we have to go through. And often in our sleep, which is considered a 60th of death, we can get close to that place. And he was just protecting you and saying, you're dreaming too deeply, don't come here. Don't dream yourself here. So my hunch is you might have been in a time where you were very lonely, where you were missing somebody, and that your spirit was going and looking for either your grandfather or somebody else who passed, who, your grandfather's talking to me, that you had an ability as a child to see into people. It was one of the things that made you a very good interviewer, and that ability can lead you astray if you're not aware of it. So that call it being an empath, being very empathic, that sometimes that can take you down, like you could follow somebody and lose track of where you are. And that's what he says you were doing.
Oh, wow. So anyway, I have someone here that said she would do a reading or have a question. So her name is Susie Lieber. She is in Phoenix area. So
okay.
Susie, if you want to type some questions or something that you'd like to ask on the Facebook page, on my Facebook page, please do so, and then we'll see what Dr. Elisa has to say.
Right, and if I can add that when you do that, please don't ask me who's going to win the election.
Yeah, we're not doing elections.
Happen in the stock market.
Yeah. We're not doing, will I win the lottery? We're not doing any of that stuff. We're not doing elections. We're not doing stock market. We're not getting involved in that. There's too many factors, and in addition to that, it's just not wise. not going to talk about that today. Okay, so we're Susie's typing something now. So yeah, I always felt that that dream was. I always felt that that dream was one that was. There was more to it than a dream.
I just.
What happened? You okay?
Yeah, I opened something on my computer and it started talking to me, and so now I'm back. Okay.
Okay,
sorry.
you're back. Good. Okay. So Royce is watching. Hi. So anyway, I always felt that that dream meant something. That it was like, oh my God, somehow I crossed a bridge and I went too far wherever I was at. You know, and that's what I felt.
Whenever you don't be afraid, because most of us have some kind of guardian that will say, go back. And in fact, I've tried to cross that. When my father died, I got pretty far in and kept being warned, like, are you sure you can go back? Because I wanted to make sure my dad was okay when my dad passed. And there are a lot of protections in the way.
Well, that's good. So well, it didn't surprise me that my grandfather showed up. He and I were very close. He had died, oh gosh, many years before that. But we were.
Did you have a cat? Did you have a cat?
I did, yeah.
This cat just crawled in my lap, and I don't have a cat, and I'm a dog person. But the weight of a cat just crawled into my lap, and is like a bit, yeah, so just saying. Not my cat, it's yours.
Must be mine, must be Max. Okay, this one says, Sue Weaver, do you believe the universe has put certain people on Earth to fight evil? Or to be evil? Let's add that to it.
Well, that's a huge theological question, right? So I believe we always have free choice, and that we can choose to be evil, we can choose to not. We have choice. Free will, which is part of the Jewish theology, says that people can choose to do evil things, and if we as human are bruised in certain ways and come here with a certain personality, it might be very, very hard for us to choose to the good as opposed to choose to the bad. My personal belief is, because remember, in Judaism, we don't have Satan, we don't have hell, we don't have any of that mythos. And so it's hard for me to believe that somebody has been sent here specifically to do evil. But I can't tell you no, because I think it's a belief system. I do believe there are people here who do evil, and we have to be aware of that.
And perhaps if they were evil on this life, they might be evil in the next as well.
Or they may come back and they were evil in a past life, and they come back this life with a tikkun of, being a healer or being in some way, shape, or form. I actually knew somebody who chose to be a nun and told me she thought that she'd had a life, her past life, of doing evil things. And she came intentionally to this life to embrace the light and to pray. Wow.
Okay, so Susie Lieber has sent her question in. And again, she's from Phoenix. She's somebody that went to high school with me. I've known her for a long time. Very smart, articulate woman, PhD like yourself, actually. I've seen ghosts since age, I'm so old, I got to lean into this, age 9. And I have a gift of discernment, is what she said. And she does think there are evil spirits in the world, that they somehow either become evil or they are created by their environment, but she does believe that. So Susie, now I'm going to ask, do you have anything that you want to, she's typing right now, so she's typing some more stuff.
So I have to agree, there is definitely evil on the planet. We see it, and we see it, and we see it, right? People can choose that, and philosophers struggle, theologists struggle with why, and so that's a hard one. I do know people who have tried to channel and forced it and met energies they feel are evil, and I have been in places that I walked out of where I did not feel safe because the energy that was sitting in that place felt evil to me, and I walked out.
That's interesting when you get that feeling. And I believe, I've gotten that feeling a few times. We just walk in, it doesn't feel right. It's like, I need to leave. It's just not good for me. And I don't know if that's just being aware of your environment or what that is, but I definitely can relate to that topic. She's trying to channel her ancestor for guidance, is what she's been trying to do. So her name is Susie Lieber, Lieber. And she is in Phoenix, Arizona. Susie, what's your, were you born in 1956 like the rest of us? Just to give her a little help here.
Yeah, that won't help with the channeling. Does she want, Susie, do you want help knowing how to channel, or do you want, because I can see your guides standing right in front of me, at least one of them. I've got a male energy standing right in front of me, looking at me.
She said yes, she'd like to help figure that out.
So what your guide is saying to me is your guides show up on a regular basis, but you're asking for more and more proof instead of believing the subtle way they're showing up. So an example might be you, I mean, the numbers is one, but that's not what he's telling me. They want you to pay attention to small synchronicity, things that you think, what a coincidence. Feathers are coming up for some reason, so I don't know if you find feathers, but if you're continually finding, for example, hawk feathers, which I find all the time, that's a message that you're pushing too hard. I always want a sticky note. Look, if you're trying to give me a message, could you just, I'll wake up in the morning, right, and you wrote an entire note and I know what to do with my life, right? It's not how Spirit speaks to us. Spirit is subtle, and we have to be open. And so what your guide is saying to me is be aware of the subtle ways they're already speaking to you. Take those messages in, and don't ask for continual proof, is sort of what they're saying. Continual proof would mean you ask 3 tarot readers the same question to see if they all agree, right? Don't do that.
And she said, yes, she is pushing hard. That's what she said, yes.
So that they want you to do is they're saying, especially this one, and behind him is a woman, and they're saying, we're right here in front of you. You're looking past us. You're trying for something very hard. Especially for women, where instead of chasing, anything I chase runs away from me. I have learned to use seduction, invite it in, open the space, invite it in, and then see what shows up and trust it. Just trust it. And if it's a little message, the messages will get louder and bigger the longer and the more often you do this. So does that help?
She will respond in a second. You know, are you ever worried that when you say invited in, is there ever a chance when a spirit would be there and you invite it in, but that spirit maybe is bad? I mean, could you be inviting in something bad? What happens if that happens? How do you cleanse that?
Yeah, I mean, that's, again, that whole vampire thing. Vampires have to be invited in, right? That whole vampire mythology. I'm not inviting in anybody who shows up. So if I'm reading for you, I'm saying I will invite in the spirits around you who are your guides. For me, I'm inviting in my guides, if there's a message from my lineage, whatever that is, and that's what I'm inviting in, right? I'm not inviting in vampires and werewolves and whatever that might be. And like I said, if I feel something negative, if I walk into a place and it frightens me for some reason, or I've actually felt things like poke at my skin or almost like they're nipping, I walk out.
Good for you.
You're welcome. You have choice.
Susie said she can feel evil and bad and separate them, so that's good. And then Caroline Cook was on. She is a cousin of mine. My mother's so she's a second cousin to me. And and Caroline, you missed it. We were talking about my poppy, so you missed that. And she's on, and she said that sometimes it helps to letting go. The whole process helps people let go. Maybe you could talk about that a little bit.
So because we're human, we want to know, am I going to get COVID? Who's going to win the election? Did I make the right decision? It's usually around that. Did I make the right decision about, right? We want to know. And because we want to know, we reach for our tarot cards 25 times a day, or we go to 5 psychics, or we get a message and go, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? Right? We won't trust, we won't trust, we won't trust. That drives us crazy.
Yeah.
At some point, letting go says, I'm doing the best I can right now. I'm getting the messages in that that I'm inviting in, right? The sort of the positive information, the information I need. I'm doing my prayers, I'm doing my meditation, or I'm doing my affirmations, or whatever it is that works for you, and then you trust. And you say, okay, right? There's a Jewish saying that I have what I need, and if I don't have it, I don't need it. So, for example, during COVID, I had a very lonely time, and I was able to say, okay, I have loneliness. I must need loneliness right now for my spirit to grow. Because, you know, we respect health when we're sick or we're threatened. We understand how to value friendships and love and family when we're alone. I must have needed loneliness for a while, because now I'm not lonely, and not much has changed in my life.
That's pretty cool. So Susie said she's on a quest for her animal spirit, and she keeps returning to nature. I'm on a quest. My animal spirit, what do I say, is vodka. No, but, and then Carolyn said earlier she had wished she was on, Carolyn Cook, when you channeled my grandfather. But I'm going to see if we can. Carolyn, do you mind? Maybe she is in Rhode Island, just so you know. We are in a big Italian family. I'm giving you some background here. She is related to me. She's one of, what?
What's the question?
Okay, so let's see if she has a question. I just see if there's anybody there. Is there anybody around from our family besides my grandfather?
So remember I said to you there was somebody who wasn't coming through, and then I got an animal? Mm-hmm. There was a woman who wasn't coming through, and now that woman's coming through for both of you. Mm-hmm. Kind of an older woman. I can't describe her because she keeps telling me she's not short and she's not voluptuous. But she kind of is. But she doesn't want me to say that. So I don't know if there's a woman who was very proud of herself, which she should have been, and how she looked, but very picky about how she was described. She's a very strong feminine energy that probably both of you knew, because now she's coming through, and she wasn't coming through before. She said that she was trying to teach both of you to be strong women. Boy, she is like, don't insult me, don't say anything bad about me, don't be you. Careful about how I speak. Does that sound?
Well,
anybody in your past?
Well, we share a lot of very strong aunties. Let me tell you. So it could have been one of those. Carolyn, what do you think? You have a question specifically? It very much sounds like many of my mother's aunts, my great aunts, and even my Aunt Irene. So they're very strong women, and our family has a tradition. The women, you know. Like my mom and my aunts got up, got dressed every day, and they looked good till the day they died, you know?
Is that the message here? I look good. Don't describe me badly. Don't say I look old. Don't say I look short or round. Don't say those words.
I think it's right? Irene, but I'm not sure. She said yes. Carolyn said yes. You know, so do you want to ask a question there? Auntie Amelia. Yeah, it could be. It could have been Aunt Amelia easily. Sounds just like her. Yeah.
Has on a dress. She likes this thing I have on, my jewelry.
Oh, that's Auntie Amelia. That's definitely Auntie Amelia, I think.
That she likes it. She says she still gets dressed up, that she might be gone, but she's still looking. She's still.
Or maybe Irene. Yeah.
She wants for the two of you to know that. That you're doing the things you're supposed to do, and to not be afraid of your future, because both of you have still, I don't know how she's put, it's almost like your family is preparing a big dinner for you where you will be celebrated, which doesn't mean you're going to die. But she's saying we are celebrating you on a regular basis, and at some point you'll eat again the foods that you have not been able to eat and the ones you love, because we're preparing those for you.
Wow, that's cool. And Carolyn thinks it's Irene, and I thought it was either Irene or Amelia, but I think she's right. It could have been Irene. Irene always got dressed and did that, and she was fierce. So that's pretty cool. And anybody else have any questions? Let's we're going to be wrapping it up in about 15 minutes. So if you've got one to fire in there, please do. And then
while they're doing that, can I tell you a little bit about what I do?
Yeah.
So when I do a reading for somebody,
please do.
So, and I have a website, elisarobin.com. Robin is spelled with a Y. And I blog and I write, and I'm writing my second novel right now, which is about healing lineage wounds. So I'm kind of prolific in that. And I will do a soul session for people, and we will do a deep dive into their astrological chart and look at what were the wounds you brought forward, and what did you come here to heal, and what is the guidance to help you heal that, to sort of to move through that. And then I work with them on that process. So it's not just a one-off hour. Usually it might be, you know, an hour and then another half hour. I also have some packages where I've worked with people on issues around money. You can see that in the chart. I've helped people brand their businesses from their chart. So I have a lot of different ways that I use astrology. And I do have that PhD in psych, so I bring those things together. No. As well as having been an academic dean, I understand aspects of business. So are there any other questions?
Yes, there are, but before that, tell people how they can get a hold of you, since we're saying that personally.
There's so many ways to find me. elisarobin.com is my website. You can email me from there.
And it's R-O-B-Y-N. Okay.
Correct. ELISAROBYN. You can email me, ELISAROBYN at msn.com. You could probably find me in Facebook. And again, I've got the Dr. Lisa Show. You can go find me there and message me there. I'm pretty easy to find, Good. Actually.
Okay, so here's a couple of things on here from some questions. And yes, we do. They're piling up here.
Right.
So Janice Barnett, who is also Jewish, by the way, and is in Chicago. And she says, do I have any guiding spirits around me?
Yes, and can you do me a favor before I do this reading? If I've given you a reading, can you just give some feedback in that site? Because it's good to know that I was on target. And okay, so what was her name again?
Janice. Janice Barnett.
Yeah, so I have your spirit. I have two of them. I have one woman in front of me to the left. This is like a well, you may never have met this woman. It may be a great-grandmother, so if you met her, it was only briefly. And then somebody close to me on my right shoulder, which means somebody, maybe even if you had a sibling or a cousin who died, who's standing like right next to me by my shoulder. So the older woman says you have a lineage history that you that sometimes you are aware of to embrace, but there's a lineage here. So I don't know if you've had psychic, if you're an empath, so many people are empaths, if you're psychic, whatever it might be, there's a lineage connection for you that she's wanting you to be very well aware of, and that she's saying small miracles happen in this lineage, that they've been saved over and over again, and she wants you to be aware that small miracles happen to you and keep track of them. And then this one at my shoulder, so I don't know if you've lost somebody who was maybe around your age or of your generation, let's say, who said that they that they're sorry, that they somehow felt like they had a deeper obligation to you, and they don't know why they're not here to finish that obligation with you or that relationship with you, but they will never leave you, and you will never be at risk because you'll never be alone.
Wow.
Can you ask her if any of that makes sense to her, please?
Janice, respond back if you can, if any of that makes sense, or if it sounds on target. Okay, Sue Delaney Oni, she has a question. Sue is also, I believe, in the Chicago area. She said, I know there's a lot of weirdness going on in the world, but I continue to have a feeling of darkness and gloom around me. Let me see what else. She had more comment on that, and I can't see if I can read the rest of it. And she said it feels like it's just being grabbed with immense sadness.
Right. Okay, so Sue, you're probably an empath. You can read books about highly sensitive people. Psychologists have actually done research on this, and there are some of us that pick up the energy of people around us or the world. So one of the things that happened to me at the beginning of COVID, I'm an empath, I'd wake up, I'd feel fine, I'd open the door, I'd want to close the door because it was black outside. It just felt dark. So my advice is to do some reading on Thriving as an Empath, I think is the name of a book. I think Thriving as an Empath. And what you need to do is, instead of, empaths are always told to like pull their energy in and surround themselves. Don't do that. I've never found it to work. What I say is expand your energy. Expand your own energy around you. It forms, you know, like a bubble, and things bounce off of it. Just expand yourself. And when you go into the world and start to recognize when, oh, that person is unhappy, but I'm okay. Oh, wow, the world's really sad. In this moment, I'm warm and safe and dry. I'm okay. And you need to learn to separate those, because that's exactly what's happening to you. You could probably find it in your chart if you want to talk about it. But I think the book's called Thriving as an Empath. I'm not quite sure. But those kinds of books will help.
Okay. And then we've got a couple more questions here, and then they'll probably be one is from Sue Weaver in Florida. She said, does my grandmother still protect my daughter?
Your grandmother's behind me. This is interesting because usually grandmothers are in front of me. She's actually saying that she has stepped back. It doesn't that she's not protecting, but that she is watching from a little further away because she wants to give your daughter room to grow and make safe mistakes. She's also saying that there is another spirit that has stepped in to help guide your daughter forward. So it's almost as if your grandmother's like that. You know how like the kids learn to walk and you got to stand away so they can figure it out, right? So they don't grab you. So that's what she's doing. But she said there is actually a spirit in front of her, and some people still on the planet, like somebody maybe she has not yet met or will met who will be mentors for her or on the planet, and they are going to help her. So, but don't be afraid. I mean, hopefully that sounded comforting.
Okay, so Janice got back to us, so let me tell you what she said. She said, the older woman intrigues me. There is an entire or a whole side of my maternal family that's unknown to me.
Okay.
And she said she really doesn't, she hasn't lost anyone her age. She doesn't, but she's, you know, unless it's somebody that she didn't really know.
So we nailed this one. This is somebody you haven't met from this lineage. Let me see who this is. It's somebody of your generation. Think lost in a broader sense. Somebody who moved away. Somebody you've lost touch with. Somebody who was, because there's something about, wow. I can't quite get it, I'm sorry. But it's something in your line. Did your mother lose somebody? Is there somebody just one step back who was very close to you in age? Like some people have aunts who are like 15, 20 years older than them, right? They're close. Because it's somebody kind of close in your line, so age-wise.
Within 10 years, would that be close? Or
yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
I'm sorry if I can't nail that one, but this other one was definitely an unknown grandmother who says you've inherited things from your lineage, and she wants you to pay attention to small miracles.
Oh, here's something Sue said. She said, thank you when you discussed her grandmother that was helping her daughter. She said, thank you. I think the evil spirit has been banished. They must have had something going on.
Okay, good. Well, that's why she could step back then, because whatever was, she was in danger, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there definitely will be other mentors on the planet coming in to help.
Well, this is so interesting. We're about ready to wrap it up, people have asked you all kinds of questions, and I can't. I don't know how you do this from a distance. I think that's pretty amazing myself. But I'm like, wait a minute.
It's easier on the crystal ball hour.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the studio and I'm reading the question, and they're listening to me directly. It's a tad easier. So if they want, the crystal ball hour is the third Monday of every month at 2:30, and if they're following KUHS, then if you're following me on Dr. Lisa, I make sure I put out a reminder.
Well, let's do that. Actually, what I'll do is I'll grab your reminder and share it with my friends so that they can jump on your crystal ball hour if they would like to do that. This has been just fascinating. So if there's one big takeaway with what's going to between now and the end of the year, not the election, not the stock market, okay, just so people know. We all know that's going to be a craziness. We don't need anybody psychic to tell us that, right? So if there's one big takeaway for the rest of this year, and going as we wrap up 2020, what is it?
That we're being asked to choose, that birth is going to happen, right? We're in a birth process. It is going to happen. You can choose to participate with it in a lovely way. How do you facilitate a birth of a new era, a new age, a new way of thinking? So be a little less afraid, a little more open-minded. Maybe practice a lot of self-kindness and kindness to others around us.
And someone here commented, believe in goodness.
Believe in goodness. Believe in kindness. Hope, right? Believe in hope. You don't have to know what's going to happen. You can have a sense of hope and hold on to that.
Good. Well, that's wonderful. We're just about ready to wrap it up today, so I want to say thank you to everyone who jumped on and asked questions, and I would like Dr. Elisa Robin, that's R-O-B-Y-N, so you know that, and you can find her or you can email her at Elisa, E-L-I-S-A, Robin, R-O-B-Y-N, at msn.com. You can tune in to kuhsdenver.com, and you can listen to her shows. And what I'll do is I'll grab some of her promos and put them on my Facebook page so you guys know when they're coming up, so you don't have to remember. But Thursdays, Mondays, she's got 2 shows here. She is phenomenal. I'm going to say, Jill Clanky said compassion for others, and isn't that the truth? That's really the big thing is compassion. Without compassion, we have nothing. And then Dallas Davis, she's in Peoria, Illinois, she said, good program today. So everyone's enjoying you. If you'd like to find out more, once again, give yourself a shameless plug.
Please tune into my radio shows, but absolutely have a one-on-one with me. I have to tell you that I've been doing this for a while, and I love the experience, and that I absolutely can help you through this time. It's a great time to do these deep dive readings and find out how you can deal with life right now in an amazingly positive way. So you can find me in lots of ways, and I definitely do readings over Zoom.
Well, that's pretty cool. All right, so I really enjoyed having you on the show. You're going to have to do this again with me because I think everybody enjoys it.
It's great.
It's a lot of fun, and so I appreciate it very much. I want to tell everybody to stay safe, wear your mask, be careful, be smart, and be kind. Just realize that no one wakes up and says, when I grow up, no little kid that's 6 years old wakes up and says, when I grow up, I'd like to be a homeless bum, and I'd like to be addicted to alcohol, and I'd like to have people ignore me, and I'd like to sleep in the cold in my own feces. No one says that. And so they're people. And I think it's time that we as a nation start being kind and caring for those people and find out who we are by how we help others. It's not about what they can do. It's about what you can do for them. And it's also not about the fact that they deserve it. Who do you decide if they deserve it or not? Everyone deserves it. So jump on board and this year and make the change that we need to be a kinder, gracious nation. All right, thank you for being here, and good night, everybody. We'll talk to you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye. Thanks, Elisa. Fabulous.
It was great.
I'm going to put the music back.